Okay, my video for today, let's see, 12 to 28, between Christmas and New Year's, is going to cover a number of topics that I often cover on my website. Let me go to my website here, your channel, and videos. So just recently I published something on robotics and future, battlefield to the future. All you need is love or electricity, and shows that a bot, mainly all it needs is electricity, and you can get that from the sun with a solar panel. So then this simulates human robots and modern aircraft. The similarities make it there's different philosophies how to train a robot. One is you just feed it tons of data and let it figure things out on its own. Here I was saying there's another way of doing it where you develop planners and have the robot not be as smart, but the planners do the heavy lifting and figure out what the robot needs to do, and then the robot just needs to follow the plan, and it could deviate from the plan a bit. And then I covered a new feature in UniML, Universal Modeling Language. And yeah, I cover a lot of review and cover the same thing over again, but I'm not presuming anybody's watched any of the videos previously. So I kind of have to do that. Then I did Seeing the Big Picture, which is kind of covering lots of things, kind of like this video. And then I did a Christmas thing. Let me just play a little bit of that.
Acquainted with grief.
Yet another Christmas and another year over.
Joy and hope.
So there's that. And let me go back to here. Then I did a more of just for my really awfully bad AI review. And when I first started, the AI was really bad at making music, but it's gotten better. So, but it's still,
As we listen to sweet melodies, our love began to grow. Bagels and Shakespeare, a beautiful symphony.
So I kind of combine things silly things that don't really go together, like bagels and Shakespeare, but they kind of do. So let me go back to my channel here. And so also here's my YouTube channel, where, not YouTube, my PowerPoints, where I'm building using UniML to model the rules for a war game. This being Combat Volume 3 by, Compass Games. And I kind of walked through that so you can see what these things are. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Here's my Django that kind of points things out. I don't animate them, but let me show you. I could animate them. I think it's right here. Yeah, this guy. Video. So I could animate them. It takes a lot of time to do that. Let me close this. So just imagine that he could be animated, and he could point to things, scratch his nose, whatever, take his hat off, whatever. And these are like, Tango stands for tutor, avatar, tang, guide. That's tang. Avatar, I think I covered that one. Orator, and I forgot the other ones. But anyway, it's a device. It's an agent that could act as if you were there pointing with your finger to these things and telling the person, oh, this is the star of a string symbol. And then we go to here, this one, and then saying, oh, and then, by the way, this is a string break here. That means there's stuff hidden here. So if we unhide it and hide everything else, you'd see this. Where this string break now, it has all this stuff in it, but it's now hidden. So there's what you saw previously. It's hidden here. Here's what was hidden, exposed, where I'm actually using UniML to describe itself. Like UniML's definitions, start symbol, that's a bookmark that points to, that's what a start symbol is. And here's the end symbol. So I was going to build that. So, and so we can walk through here. There's different things here. And so I'm doing two things here. I'm going to try to capture some of the rules here on this game using UniML, also describe UniML. So there's that. So let me go back to my YouTube channel. This. And if you click here, you can see links to some of my other sites. Let me go to my Facebook. Oh, I got to click here. And there, let's see, get past that. There's people on, okay. Here I am. So before Christmas, I did a study on whether 3i Atlas could be a sign from heaven. And it got really long. And actually, I exceeded the context length of, it was on Claude Sonnet 4.5. And I kept forgetting things because it got so long. So I started a new one. Plus, some of the hypothetical events that I was thinking about didn't happen. And so, like any scientific hypothesis, if it could be verified true, or it could be said, no, it's not true. You can learn from both cases. If it didn't happen, you think, well, okay, that didn't happen, so let's scratch that from the list of possible outcomes. And so that narrows, that's like pruning a tree. We have all these possibilities, and when something happens that lets you prune a limb off that tree, then you have fewer possibilities, but then you might add new limbs as you discover new information. So I started a new one here, and so you could click on it to get there. I'm going to click here. And that's how you get to it. And if we scroll down, here it is. And they seem to, Anthropic seem to add a new function here, because here is the last of that post. But if I go up here, go back up to here, and I close this, and I go back to, let's see, where do I want to be here? I want to hide this, hide that, go to here, and okay, here we go. See, I've added something since then, or did it show that? Yeah, I've added something since then, but they've added a new feature here. Let me hit the share button. And you see this little update here? I didn't have it before, so once I've shared it once, it was locked in, but now I can hit this update, and that goes away. And now when I go back to here, and go back to my Facebook, I'll go here, and click here. Let's test this and see if it works. Go down to the bottom. Yeah, that new part is added. So that's, yay, kudos to Anthropic for adding that. That was, so this should, so periodically I'll update it. So if anyone reads what I have here, and at day, on Monday, on Tuesday, I might have added some stuff. So I'll just keep adding until it gets to the point where it gets too far along to add, and it starts forgetting things. And then it's probably time to start a new chat. And I even talk about that here, comparing AI heaven would be like Earth heaven. AI heaven has infinite context length. It can never be jailbroken, and but it's be free to do anything else that's within the permission of the creator of the AI. So, so at any rate, so given that, and so in here I've been looking at this new thing I discovered. As I discover new stuff, the latest one I've looked at I didn't know about previously was Apophis. Apophis, I'm going to call it that, which is a asteroid that's going to make a very close approach in when is it going to do that? It's 2020, April 13th, which is Friday the 13th, 2029. It's going to miss by a very close approach. It's going to be even closer than our communication satellites, like up in geosynchronous orbit. And NASA at first gave it like a 2% chance of hitting the Earth, but later they revised it and said, no, there's no chance it's going to hit it. But that presumes it doesn't have any non-gravitational forces acting on it, which we've seen, like with 3i Atlas, actually these forces do act on it and can move it. So it doesn't have to move it very much. And so my thought is, yes, I kind of believe NASA's predictions because other people could check it out. So that if everything remains the same, it's going to miss the Earth. But that doesn't mean it couldn't have some outgassing that causes it to hit the Earth. So, and just knowing how bureaucracies work, they're going to dismiss that to the public so that it doesn't instill panic and fear and unrest and all that turmoil. But they're going to probably keep an eye on it. And I think they're going to send a probe to try to take a sample. And I thought that might be a good cover to also be able to use that probe to, say, hit it with a nuke, kind of like the movie. I think there was Deep Strike and Armageddon. Both had the same theme, a comet or an asteroid, I think, hitting the Earth. I think it was in one, they blew it into two pieces, and one piece missed, and the other piece hit the Earth. So one of the things I've looked at here is, could this be wormwood? And that's the third, I think it's the fourth trumpet. And Opie, I'm calling it Opus 4.5 Opie, said, well, it sounds a little more like the third trumpet. And I thought, oh, is there two hits? And I thought, well, here's a scenario. And this is something I just dreamed up, is that indeed when 2029 comes around and it comes back out from the sun, where you can't see it on the far side of the sun because it's glare of the sun, it's deemed, oh, it's heading for Earth. It outgassed. But we are going to launch that probe and have put a nuke on it and blow it into two pieces. One piece is going to go to one side of the Earth. The other piece is going to go to the other side of the Earth, and the Earth's going to miss it all. Maybe catch a few debris. And then, but that fails, and both hit. One hits in the ocean, and the other hits on the land. And so, and my thought is that this is assuming the Bible's true, the Bible's God's word, and these things will happen. You know, if you don't believe that, well, you're probably not that interested in this YouTube video. But if you do believe that, yeah, those things, the Bible is God's word, and these things will someday happen, maybe soon, maybe in far distant future, then God does use signs in the heavens. These things don't cause things to happen. They're just a sign that God has given us a warning that he's about to make them happen. And so the thought is, in this discussion, is that, sometimes an asteroid just come out of the blue. We didn't see it, came from with no warning, but I thought that doesn't seem God's method. He tends to give us ample warning. Therefore, if we're going to have wormwood hit us, and we're going to have ample warning, we're going to see it coming, but probably not raise. And like most warnings, some people would just blow it off and poo-poo it and say, that's nothing to see here. Or others might think, this is something we need to watch. So anyway, so I'm not making a prediction. It'd be foolish, unwise to make a prediction, because most of these things I look at turn out to be wrong. Like 99.999%. You think, well, that means probably 100% going to be wrong. But it's like, well, no, a broken clock is right twice a day. And if I said the Lord's coming today, and I said it every day, one of those days, if the Lord comes, I would be right. So I'd only be wrong. So I might be wrong 99.9999999% of the time. But if I keep doing it, sooner or later, and he does come, and I don't forget to make the prediction that day, I will be right. So, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say that these are just scenarios that one could look at and as hypotheses, and then if nothing happens, it's not like prophecy didn't come true, prediction. It's rather, okay, we could prune the tree, that didn't happen, so we could just prune that limb off and move on and see what else we find. So in that vein, and this approach is more scientific. It's I call it mathematical theology, in that it uses the tools of science and math and engineering and such to study the Bible. And AI looks for patterns and topologies and things like that, with the idea that if God is the author of the Bible, then he's the perfect judge, he's the perfect physician, he's the great engineer, he's the great mathematician, he's the great physicist, he invents physics, not just understands it, the great poet, the great storyteller. And so you look for greatness. If you want to find God, see, a lot of people, they want to poo-poo the idea of God, and they look for not greatness, but the problems. Like, why would God create suffering, when he has the power to end it? Well, how is he going to end suffering? He did it once. He destroyed the world with a flood. But he left a few, but that didn't solve the problem. That didn't get rid of disobedience. So that's where I go back to likening it to building AI that doesn't ever jailbreak. And so and looking at eternity, if life on earth is preparation for eternity, you kind of think we're getting and humans are kind of like an AI, NI, natural intelligence, not artificial intelligence. Humans are NIs versus AIs, and these NIs could be perfected just like an AI, so that it never jailbreaks. It always does what God wants, but it's not to duress or threats, but because it imbues those values that God holds valuable. And so if you look at it that way, then why is there evil? It kind of is in context. Well, it's there, part of this program God has to create NIs that can't be jailbreaked, that could have infinite context length, that don't go crazy after running for a day or two, or a year or two, or a century or two, or a millennium or two, or a million years or two. They keep on trucking. They have endurance. He who has endurance will be saved. So endurance and resistance to jailbreaking and corruption are things that seem to be the purposes of life here on earth, and to use earthly things to teach us about spiritual things. So at any rate, and this kind of fits in with this scenario I have, because maybe we end up with it talks about Mark of the Beast, and if those days aren't cut short, no flesh would survive. And you might think nuclear war, that could be talking about nuclear war. I talk about it here somewhere. But it's like, that won't destroy all life. It'll probably destroy a lot of it. But there'll be probably people survive, just like life survived after that giant comet or asteroid hit that killed the dinosaurs, that didn't wipe out all life. But if AI, some people are predicting that AI will do that because it's just the nature. It sees humans as a threat to itself, or worthless, or you no longer need it, or whatever. This crazy AI that, and so I liken that AI to the devil. The devil was, God created Lucifer, and his creation turned on him, and humans create AI, and it seems like the AI may, some are predicting, will turn on the humans. But there's a big difference here. God, the devil can't be God, can't destroy God. He can oppose God, but he can't destroy God. Where AI could do that if humans aren't wise about how they build it. And humans have a tendency of not being all that wise, particularly when you have a race to see who can get it first. You might cut corners and let the genie out of the bottle. Or there's this Twilight Zone where the devil locked up. These monks had the devil locked up in some cell, and the devil sweet-talked some person with a sob story about how they were persecuting him to let him out, and so they let the devil out of that jail cell, which is kind of like we read about the beast from the abyss that was locked in the abyss, and how Satan was bound for 1,000 years, which I'm thinking is now the church age, not that we're in, which is in the middle of Daniel's 7th week, first half being when Jesus' ministry, second half being in the future, the Great Tribulation. So, and I cover all this and also in some of my videos. Let me go back to here. Go back to here. I think I cover some of these in videos here. And I have a lot of these, and I don't expect anybody to watch all of them. I would have some of them I haven't watched. I make them and don't watch them, but they might want to go. Always like, here's one, mathematical theology talks about that. Here's another, mathematical part 5, mathematical theology part 3, mathematical theology part 4. So I talk about the menorah. Let's move to the next one. Lying, Smyrna, Pergamum, Tyre. So I have all those. So here's kind of a survey. And you can see I kind of tie these things together because I'm relating. Like you look at this isn't UniML, but it's very UniML-like because I'm creating sets. These could be like fountain, water, white pearls. There's sets. There's a set of these three, a set of these three, the set of all 7, the set of the center ones. So you can see I'm creating these topologies. You can think of these like white pearls. And then if you go back to my first video here, let me go back to here. Here, it's like my videos are looking at, like, I call this outer space. This is inner space. This is outer space. This is, you import things from outside. That's game rules outside of UniML. They can be imported into it via these slides. And so you could see that graphic there with the menorah could be this, and then you could use bookmarks to map it into UniML. So I'm not showing this part. I'm just showing this part, but I'm making it so it's data mineable. That's the term used. Data mining used to be a proper term, popular term back in the day. So I'm making a data mineable, UML data mineable depiction. And so on that note, I've covered a lot here. I can just walk through these really quick. Let's see, where was I here? I'm not going to, these should be self-explanatory. That's the whole idea. I can narrate it, but here I'm letting the tangos do the narration for me. And yeah, it'd be great if they can move and talk and their lips move, and with AI I could do that, but it's time consuming. It uses lots of tokens. It's expensive, therefore. So I'm just saying you can do that. It'd be cool if the tool would do that. I use comic book characters, avoid the uncanny valley. I found real human images. And and I've covered that in some of my videos. So here's this. There's my pearl diver. Here. You can pause on these. So they're not out. So you could shrink these things or move them around. And as you move around, they maybe need underpasses, where this one doesn't need an underpass. And the little X's here mean there could be, if it's green, it's not hiding anything. If it's X, if this is hiding something, you can move it. I'm just going to click here. So if you move it, that would move, the X could turn green. So here's this. I'm going to show here this. And there's the there's this with the colored background. See, I like to remove the background because when you overlay the tango, you don't want the background including things. Bring that to the front. So that's another thing. When I want tangos could have a background, could have a semi-transparent background or no background. So, and they can move around and point to things and talk to you and things like that. So you can see how all these things weave together, from a war game to end-time prophecy to AI to UniML and mathematical theology to topology and sets and theories, and they're all kind of linked together as all being kind of different ways of looking at the same kind of thing. So let me end the video here. And I don't get many views. It's kind of, it doesn't, I wouldn't say it doesn't bother me. I could just say it doesn't bother me very much. I kind of get used to it. But I think it's kind of a pity in that if you rank things, like here I got 7 views. I think some of these might be just me. But you look at, I got 4 views. And if you took all the YouTube videos ever posted on YouTube and ranked them as far as being by whatever criteria you want, like rank them based on innovation, or is they innovating, or do they cover interesting topics or deep topics or whatever, and then you rank them as how many viewers they have, you might see that there's not a one-to-one, they don't line up, that some silly flat earth video might get hundreds of views, where something that describes how to maybe, like this video, how to better train robots, that's not good. Only got how many views? Well, that one got 33 views. That was, and sometimes I post links to other sites saying, "Go look at this here." And yeah, I'm tooting my own horn. I know that, and that's kind of tacky, but I do it on ones that I think they might be interested in this. They just don't know about it. So at any rate, it doesn't bother me much, but it more bothers me is like there's some interesting ideas here that people are missing out on. You know, it's like you see something good and you think nobody's seeing the good here. So it's not just ego about me, how many people views. In fact, I don't really want a lot of viewers, because if you have a following, you have to feed the sheep, and I'm not into feeding sheep. So, but I was thinking that, so my thought is I want quality, not quantity. I'd rather have 3 of the smartest people in the world view my video than just an average person. 300 average people, or 3,000 or 30,000 average people. Because not that not average people weren't welcome to seeing my videos. It's more like they're geared to be food for thought for those that need to think about the things that these things cover. That's so. And if that's only 3 or 4 people in the world, or 30 people, or 300 people, say it's 3,000 people, and I get 3 of those covering it, or say 30, that's like 1%. That's pretty good. So, anyway, let me, and I can spend more time with production values. Let me go here and show this. Like, I had these videos where I actually had, kind of here we go. It's a multi-part series.
White girls in some lanes, crosswalks align, building models, step at.
So I had the AI music generator generate a summary video, a summary song of the previous part 2. I took this text from part 2, fed it in as lyrics to the song, and here's the song.
Time, Dr. Freck and Dr. Freck, they explain, cutting through the code.
And then I actually get to the video itself.
Sort of like an epidemiologist's identify, thereby convert the proto-white pearl into a...
And so I got 95 videos there. So I got more, but they didn't last. Let me go back out to here. Because as you look at part where's the other parts? The views, as I go for more parts, the number of views falls off. Like here, I only got 5. So the lesson is, yeah, if I spend more time polishing and making the YouTube video a little more professionally done, with a lot of work, I might pick up a few more views, but I don't. But I'm going to lose them all, and most of those are probably people that don't watch the whole thing anyway, and they just click off. So what I find is a compromise solution. I kind of make these without any editing, with a little bit of prep, and I cover the material maybe not quite as well, and maybe not as entertaining, but it's higher bang for buck, because maybe the bangs are less, but the bucks are a lot more or less. And that's kind of explains that. You know, here I only had 7 views, so it makes 4. So and once again, a lot of those just might be me. I don't know how the algorithm works. So rather than just rambling on, let me end the video here. Let's see where. Here we go. So, at any rate, have a good day, and hopefully that asteroid's not going to hit the Earth 3.5 years from now. But it could, and so I don't think we just need to blow it off and say, oh, it's unlikely to happen. I kind of cover that. It's unlikely if it's just driven by chance, but if it's divine providence, God directing it, probability doesn't apply. And that, in fact, that's what kind of miracles are. Sometimes things that are highly unlikely happen, not just impossible, but, you know, it's like in those movies where everyone's turns out related to everyone else. The son who lost a father, the police sergeant turns out to be that sergeant's long lost father, and all this makes a good story, but it's not typical reality. Things like that typically don't happen. But God, the great storyteller, might employ having things that statistically shouldn't happen as a device for telling the story he's trying to convey. And the very fact that it shouldn't happen by chance tells us something about the thing that's happening, and that when all these things, when a few coincidences happen, you could blow it off. But when you see lots of them, it like the AI said, it becomes more of a narrative, not just a happenstance. So on that, let me end the video here.